It's that time again, folks. Time for another edition of Say Their Names. And this will be for that little desk pogue in Story County, Iowa. Latifah Faisal, who she's pretty good at virtue signaling and using Black Lives Matter for political expediency, window dressing, virtue signaling, and all that nonsense. Basically mostly for political expediency. So we're going to do, this will be a Los Angeles and California edition, Say Their Names. See the links underneath the video. I have data, and she has screeching. This is for California. Not surprisingly, from 2010 to 2019, in California, 26.34% of the murder arrestees were black. 46.7% were Hispanic, 20.06% were white, and 6.89% other. California has a high Asian population, higher than the national average. Gee, I wonder why Asians are assimilating fine. Having usually intact families, not snorting drugs up their noses or shooting up and not butchering each other in the hood. Isn't that funny, Latifah, how Asians are doing well in California mostly? And in Virginia is another state that has a 6.9% Asian, if I remember right, and they're not butchering each other in the hood. Why do you think that is? From 2010 to 2019 in California, 28.55% of the murder victims were black, 43.4% were Hispanic, 20.32% were white, and 7.3% were other. Plenty of black-on-black murder happening in the Golden State, too. California, in 2010, according to the Census Bureau, was 6.5%, only 6.5% African American, 36.5% white alone, 39.4% Hispanic, and 15.5% Asian. Now for some data from Los Angeles specifically, which has seen a massive spike in homicide over the last 16 months. They hadn't had over 300 homicides for well over a decade, and it spiked last year. And this year isn't looking any better. In 2011, of the 153 people arrested for murder / non-negligent manslaughter in LA, 43 or 28.1% of them were black. In 2007, I just randomly picked these, of the 279 arrests for murder / non-negligent manslaughter, 92 or 33% of them were black. Those are just two snapshots from LA. Not encouraging, isn't it? Is it? In 2016 and 2017, there were 156 black-on-black homicides in LA, 181 Hispanic-on-Hispanic homicides, 20 black-on-black homicides, black-on-Hispanic homicides, excuse me, and 22 Hispanic-on-black homicides. Similar to previous years, the overwhelming majority of homicide victims in 2017 were of Hispanic and black descent. Of the 282 homicides that occurred in 2017, more than 53% involved Hispanic victims, more than 36% involved black victims. Whites, Asians, and other races combined represent less than 10% of the total number of 2017 homicides. As of April 17th of last year's massive increase in homicides, Los Angeles had 80. On April 17th of this year, they have 105. Of the 175 identified suspects, 52% were of Hispanic descent and 40% were of black descent. Other suspects included white, 6%, Asian 1.7%, other races 2%. In 2010, LA was 8.9% black, 48.5% Hispanic / Latino, 28.5% white alone, and 11.6% Asian. Now, Latifah, you taxpayer-funded desk pogue, let us say their names. I'm going to read off some of the homicide victims in Los Angeles, and the LA Times has got a big page on this. Keep you busy. I'm going to read off some of the homicide victims in Los Angeles over the past year and change. All the victims will be 17 years of age or younger. If I included those who were 18 or 19, I would have 70 plus names to say, so we will restrict it to people categorized as children. Latifah Faisal, say their names, dummy. Some of the homicides are not in Los Angeles proper, but are all in LA or its metro area. Good enough. So let's read some of these off. Adrian Bryce Haskell, 11 years old. March 29th, 2020, died after being shot near 25814 Hillworth Avenue in Lomita, according to the medical examiner. Benedict Antonio, now I'm not even going to pronounce this last name because I know I'll get it wrong. Benedict Antonio, a 1-year-old Asian male, died Wednesday, April 15th, 2020, after sustaining blunt force trauma near South California Avenue and Duarte Road in Monrovia, according to the medical examiner. Brian Ponce, a 17-year-old Latino male, died Sunday, April 26, 2020, after being shot near 7118 San Vicente Street in Paramount, according to the medical examiner. Darion Carter, 16-year-old black male, May 10, 2020, was shot near West 68th and Hoover Streets in Vermont, Slauson. Michael Cardenas Jr., 17-year-old Latino male, May 14, 2020, after being shot, was shot near Century Boulevard and South Freeman in Inglewood. Enrique Sebastian Falcone, 10-year-old Latino male, was shot near North Hacienda Boulevard and Amar Road in La Puente. Otis Rajon Williams, 14-year-old black child, was shot and killed near East 98th and South Central Avenue in Florence Firestone. Isabella Cortez, 13-year-old Latino female, blunt force trauma killed her. Alejandra Estrada, 17-year-old Latino female, was shot in Hollywood. Otis Rajon Williams, black male, age 14, found dead in an alley near the corner of Central Avenue and Century Boulevard, shot in the chest. Simaj Brunacio Miller, 14, was shot and killed July 29, 2020, in the 100 block of East 87th Place in Broadway, Manchester. This name, I'm going to have trouble with this name. Oztaj Jaquan Massey, if I'm getting it right, 17-year-old black male, was shot in Vermont Vista. Andrew Ellis Aguilar, 16-year-old Latino, was shot in Pomona. Jeremy Nathaniel Jackson, 16-year-old black male, was shot in Gramercy Park. Miljan Colquitt, 16-year-old black teenager, was shot in Willowbrook. And in that same altercation, it's about 11 p.m., 5 teenagers were in a car when an assailant approached and began shooting, and the car slammed into a vehicle. And there was another teenager in the car, Jamel Edward Hill Jr., 17, who was also found dead in the vehicle. Carl Loman Jackson, 15-year-old black male, was shot in Watts. Malika Taylor, 13-year-old black female, didn't say what she died of. Just said she's dead. Homicide. Maurice Jr. Taylor, 12-year-old black male in Lancaster. Didn't say what he... Arthur Touch, 14... Or I'm assuming since he's Asian, it might be pronounced Touche. 14-year-old Asian male was shot in Long Beach. Eric Vincent Osby. Sorry, that was a 19-year-old. I forgot to take that one out. Ever Gabriel Cutzon, 15-year-old Latino male, was shot in Boyle Heights. Giovanni Sonny Ramirez, 15-year-old Latino male, was shot on Van Nuys Boulevard. Khalik Zakai Osefeso, if I got that right, I apologize if I didn't, 16-year-old black male, shot in Athens. Peyton Harris, 17-year-old black male, was shot in Hawthorne and killed. And the last one, Decorion Sanders, 17-year-old black male, was shot. So you see, most of these, a lot of them are black victims, and they're usually getting shot. And I would wager that these people using the guns didn't go to a flea market or a gun show. And like I said, if I read off anybody who was 18 or 19, included teenagers, we'd be here a lot longer. There was over 70 of those. So, Latifah Faisal, say their names. Why doesn't this happen in Iowa all the time? Why doesn't that happen in Iowa? Why do you think it is? Vermont's had no permit to carry since forever. Why are there not shootouts in Vermont every weekend? I wonder why. So, Latifah Faisal, if you want a virtue signal, we're going to keep at this. You're not the only one I'm going to pick on, but why don't you say their names? Do some virtue signaling, hold up some little signs, hashtag Black Lives Matter, Hispanic Lives Matter, and put Peyton Harris's name on there, or Decorion Sanders, or Giovanni Sonny Ramirez, or Ever Gabriel Cutzon, or Eric Vincent Osby, or any of them, and say their names for us. Have a nice day, and we'll see you next time.